Alperen Sengun is your Western Conference Player of the Week. Let's talk about it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Summit State of Mind, presented to you by the Apollo Podcast Network. In this episode, we're going to discuss your reigning Western Conference Player of the Week, Alperen Sengun. We're going to discuss the lingering injuries to Tara Eason and Dillon Brooks. We're also going to discuss the need for consistency on this Rockets team, and we're going to preview Rockets versus Bulls. Hope everyone out there is having a great and fantastic New Year. Let's go ahead and open this episode with the question of the night. How many Western Conference Player of the Week awards can Alperen Sengun win the rest of the season? It took till the new year, but he finally got his first of at least of this season. So how many do you think Western Conference Player of the Weeks can Alperen Sengun garner before the end of the season? Is it just going to be this one, or can he possibly win a couple of more? Drop your comments right now on YouTube below. I want to hear from each and every one of y'all. How many Western Conference Player of the Weeks can Alperen Sengun win by the end of this season? Boys and girls, if you hadn't already heard me say 1,000 different times in 1,000 different ways, congratulations to one Alperen Sengun. That's right, the all-star, the future all-star of this Houston Rockets, the person that binds this team together. That's right, he won his first Western Conference Player of the Week. I'm so psyched, so happy, so well deserved. For the week that he played in 4 games, he averaged 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4.5 assists, and led the Rockets to a 3-1 record. There's no better player, more deserving of a player. You led the team basically to 3-1, all without Dillon Brooks, first of all, your best defensive player on your team, with an in and out Tara Eason who has not been playing as of late. You are basically coming in here with you lost a starter and you lost a very big bench player. But Alperen Sengun continues to be the high scorer, the best player by far on this team, and he finally gets recognized for it, especially considering how far he's come, especially from the start of the season. I mean, gosh, we were in preseason and people were already calling for his head and saying maybe he shouldn't even start. Maybe we should look at trading him. Nah. He basically proved that each and every one of those doubters wrong, and now, look, he earned Western Conference Player of the Week. Very well deserved. I wonder how much he's going to win before it's all said and done, because he performs so consistently every single game. We're going to start seeing more of these as they come, but congrats on the very first Western Conference Player of the Week award for Alperen Sengun. Look, let's dive a little deeper into this. Alperen Sengun, it moves further and farther than this because of the fact that we are getting closer to possibly getting him to the All-Star game. It's a little wishy-washy. It's a little tough right now. He's 7th overall in All-Star votes for the Western Conference. Does not look good in terms of, at least in the first round of votes. So this is the amazing thing right here, and this is where I have to give credit. I gotta give credit to the country of Turkey. Shout outs to the Turkey listeners that are still here and listening to this show and this podcast. Because shout outs to y'all, because y'all absolutely killed it. Because the second that those rankings came out, the first round of votes, 300,000 plus votes for Alperen Sengun, 7th overall. The whole country of Turkey stepped up their game, and what I mean by that is that it is reported that the president of Turkey, there were sports clubs, influencers, TV shows, and billboards all dedicated to basically telling everyone, hey, vote for Alperen Sengun, get him into the All-Star game. I love it. You're backing him like he's like he's a son, like he's one of the favorite sons of Turkey. Very, very well-deserved. Shout-outs and kudos to y'all, because it may be these votes that may propel him into the top 5. I'm hoping the top 4. Hopefully he can make it. It's going to be, like I said, very difficult, like I said in past episodes, very difficult for him to make the All-Star game. It's going to be very difficult. A lot of players he has to excel and beat over in terms of All-Star voting. However, everyone can do their part. The whole country of Turkey is doing their part. It's gone so far as the MasterChef Turkey finale had mentioned Alperen Sengun's All-Star bid and how to vote. How insane is that? I mean, MasterChef Turkey. Shoutouts to y'all. Seriously, shoutouts to the entire country of Turkey. There's no player, in my opinion, more underrated in the NBA, at least from a national perspective. I mean, if you watch this show all the time, he's definitely not underrated. If you're a Houston Rockets fan, you know for a fact he's not underrated. But the totality of the NBA, along with the media, you look at Steph Curry, you tend to favorite those types of players. LeBron James, obviously, Anthony Davis, who both play for the Lakers, Luka Doncic, who's been here longer now, who've had longer careers in terms of expanding, and Alperen Sengun finally making the first breakout year this season. Let's go ahead and let's shock the world. Let's frickin' shock the world now. Let's get Alperen Sengun to the All-Star game. Let's continue to build upon this man's already impressive resume as it is. Let's tack on, along with the Western Conference Player of the Week, let's get him to the All-Star game, and let's continue to build upon this so we can get him all the love that he deserves, because he has absolutely earned it. The dude has been balling, especially on the court. So very well deserved. Once again, shout outs to the entire country of Turkey that have been doing their part. Y'all can do your part right now if you listen to the show by going to NBA.com. Go to rockets.com/NBA All-Star voting and go look it up right now. You can go ahead and put your immediate vote. One vote for every 24 hours. Use your email address. Go ahead and put your vote in right now. Every vote counts. Let's get Alperen Sengun to the All-Star game. All right, let's move on. I do want to discuss and talk about the lingering injuries. And what I mean by lingering injuries, it's been tough lately in terms of the injury department. We haven't had Dillon Brooks now for seven games. We've lost Tara Eason now for more than a handful of games at this point. They're trying to manage the leg injury. So basically, to dial back, Tara Eason has been dealing with a lower left leg injury. Dillon Brooks has been dealing with an oblique injury that's been ongoing since I think December 26th. So let's discuss and talk about Tara Eason first. Tara Eason, they've been trying to manage his minutes. So they're not disclosing the totality of what's going on with the injury. Based on reports, based on what I've read, it looks to be what's going on with Tara Eason is that it's a lingering injury, which means it's a lingering injury from what happened. If people tend to forget, he did get injured in the preseason when he got stepped on, or he got sat on by another one of the NBA players during a preseason game. I don't remember what the team was exactly, but I do remember the injury itself. It wasn't a good-looking injury. It just seems to be a lingering injury, and it's the same leg. We're thinking that that's where this is kind of lingering, and I don't think he's improving. And when you get these types of injuries, and when they're lingering injuries, the best mode of getting better or immediately getting yourself cured is to rest. And the thing is that we haven't really deemed him as out. He's been out day to day. He'll be out one game, out another game, and they try to limit his minutes. And it's a shame too, because since he returned, he's been averaging 13 points a game. He's been playing very, very well. He's been a real energizer bunny for this team. I mean, never giving up on plays at all. He's absolutely been phenomenal in doing his part. However, the fact that he's not able to play every single game, they have to limit his minutes. They're being cautious with him right now. And I think that as the Houston Rockets, you have to do that. When you have a lingering injury like this, it's obvious. I don't know if he's had a setback during physical therapy. I don't know if he's had a setback during practices, but they're being very, very, very careful, in which case I have to tend to agree with whatever the medical staff says. So if they want to be very careful with Tara Eason's injury, it means that it has not gotten significantly better. And if they're being extra careful, there's a fear that it could get worse. So trust the staff right now. Unfortunately, Tara Eason is a tough player to replace. You don't replace him right away with one player. You just have to replace him in the aggregate. And what I mean by that is having other players step up, a la Jayshawn Tate, a la Jeff Green. Unfortunately, that has to get more minutes. Speaking of players that are also out, unfortunately, Dillon Brooks has still been out. By the way, they're both ruled out for tomorrow as well against the Chicago Bulls, so we're definitely not going to get Tara Eason, nor are we going to get a Dillon Brooks. And if I can expand a little further on Dillon Brooks' injury, I was able to pull up some stats that I thought were very interesting. He's missed the last 7 games, including most of the second half against the Indiana Pacers. And I've noticed this. And what is Dillon Brooks most known for? He's known for his defense and what he plays. And when he's on that court, we average in terms of points given up, we average about 106 points given up per game, which is huge, especially in today's NBA. It's obvious that he is a needle mover in terms of defensive culture that Ime Udoka wants, and he's definitely a glue to that defense to keep it together. But to give everyone a perspective onto how important he is, Dillon Brooks is on the defensive end. In the past 7 games that he's missed, these are the numbers of points that were given up: 129, 131, 113, 101, 122, 108, 120. To average all of that together in the last 7 games, that is 117 points per game that have been given up since Dillon Brooks has been gone from the court. And that is like, you're looking at about an 11-point discrepancy from when he is on the court. So that alone it's not like a little margin. That's a wide margin. You give up 117 points per game when Dillon Brooks is not on the floor. You go from 106 to 117. The Rockets don't have a problem scoring the ball. However, when you give up 117 plus points a game, you heard those averages. I said 122 at one point. I said 130 at one point. These are high numbers. This is not Houston Rockets branded defense that we've come to know and love, at least with the first quarter of the season. We need to see better from the defense overall. The good news about Dillon Brooks and Tara Eason being out is that the schedule is not hectic. It's not a heavy dated schedule in terms of competition, in terms of teams that are competing. We're not, the schedule's a little light. This road trip, it's not a crazy road trip. We are going to be playing Boston this road trip, though. I would like to see one of Tara Eason or Dillon Brooks back at that point, especially against Boston, especially to help guard Jason Tatum. Dude's a baller. So hopefully they can get back by that point. But good news on that front is that Dillon Brooks as well is practicing with the team. So he is attending practices, traveling, doing whatever he needs to do with the team. So we may see him back this road trip, and I'm really crossing my fingers to get him back. Like I said, to backtrack with what I was saying, Tara Eason has not improved it from the looks of it. That is the one I probably would be a little bit more cautious with. When it comes to Dillon Brooks, I'm perfectly fine with it. It's an oblique injury. It's not an overall lingering injury, though. It could improve with time. So I'm anticipating him to actually return a little bit sooner. Tara Eason, it's a little up in the air. I don't know, honestly, what to expect because he'll play limited minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, and then he'll sit, and like the idea is that they're managing the stress of the leg injury. However, they're saying they're managing it, which means he won't play the second game or one game of back-to-back games. But it seems like no matter what, it was back-to-back. He missed the last back-to-back, both games, and then he missed last game against Miami. And now he's going to miss tomorrow's game against Chicago. So this is a little concerning now. Hopefully, like I said, players like Jayshawn Tate, players like Jeff Green, the forwards that can come in. Like, you can't replace the type of play that Dillon Brooks and Tara Eason play. You can't replicate it. So what you do is you next man up. You basically fill in these stats in the aggregate. So I'm hoping that these players can step up and make noise, including Cam Whitmore as well. Can't forget Cam Whitmore. He's going to get more minutes, especially against this upcoming game against the Bulls. So we're looking forward to it. Okay, let's go move on to the next topic right now. I do want to discuss in terms of need of consistency, because it really seems like, we'll win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 2, win 1. It's like we can't seem to find some type of consistency in terms of playing well. There's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, one of the reasons being, which I just stated in the past segment, was obviously the lack of having Dillon Brooks and Tara Eason on the floor. Jabari Smith missed a couple games as well. And this is the NBA. This is sports. You get into the dog days of the season, whether it's NBA, MLB, soccer, NFL, whatever, what have you, hockey. When you get into these dog days of the season, injuries tend to happen. So that's not the problem here. Like, we know you're going to go through some lingering injuries amongst certain players. That just happens. It's the ebbs and flows of the season. The great teams, the really good teams, find a way to remain consistent, along with the next man up mantra. So, in terms of the Rockets finding their way to getting consistent, because I don't want to discuss too much about the Miami game. Enough time had passed already. It was yesterday. It was a loss. We did beat the Bucks. Unfortunately, I was not able to review that game as well. I can't give it specific in-game reviews because enough time had passed between them, and I don't want to give you all a bunch of old news or rehash what you've probably already watched or listened to. But at the very least, I can say though is that what made them really good against the Bucks is another reason as to why they lost, really, is what's the reason why they lost to Miami. See, that's the problem, and that's where we need to find a little bit more consistency amongst this team. I mean, Jabari and Jalen had a really, really bad game against Miami. They shot the ball horribly, and that's the thing, and that's part of the problem. So in terms of finding consistency starts mostly with coaching, and it starts at the top with coaching, obviously. And then it starts to trickle down with the vets, with Fred VanVleet. I was going to say Dillon Brooks, but not Dillon Brooks. Then you think about Jae'Sean Tate. And then Alperen Sengun to a degree. Kid's been playing pro ball since he was 16 years old. So, I mean, he's been playing consistently as well. But then you start thinking about the young players that are trying to find their way. You start talking about Jalen Green, you start talking about Jabari Smith Jr., and then, when they don't play consistently, see, that's part of the problem. To find consistency on this team, top to bottom, all players to a degree need to play consistently because we're not talented enough as a team to where if one player doesn't do well, another player will pick them up and play exceedingly well. And what I mean by that is, like, if Jalen Green has a bad game, for instance, then maybe Cam Whitmore can go off for 15 to 20 points. Or if Jabari Smith doesn't go off, then we can get a Jae'Sean Tate 20-point game. We're just not a talented enough team to supplant for when the young guys aren't playing well enough. And that includes an Amen Thompson as well. This is where these guys kind of need to start stepping up with the injuries of players being out. It's next man up mantra. You have to step into the spotlight now and find that consistency. Fred VanVleet's been playing better overall offensively. They have lacked a lot defensively, which I've said earlier in the past segment. With Dillon Brooks being out here, you're starting to see a lot of doubling, tripling of Alperen Sengun. It's how Alperen Sengun is going to adjust to it, which he's doing pretty well, all things considered. The thing is, when that happens, is that the offensive players' output needs to increase now, especially because they want to get the ball out of Alperen Sengun's hands. Spoelstra's defense, for example, last game was very hard on Alperen Sengun. He couldn't get a lot of shots up, shot the ball very well, all things considered. However, they still lost by 7, 113 to 120. So we need to get guys like Jabari and Jalen going. We're just not that talented enough of a team overall to where if one person doesn't play well, another player can just step up. We're not a contender. We're not there yet. We're gonna get there, but we're definitely not there yet. And we need to find that semblance of consistency. We need to start tacking on some wins. Win 3 in a row, win 4 in a row. You don't need to win 10 in a row. But if you win 3 and lose 1, you can start making separation amongst the standings. Win 3, lose 1. Win 4, lose 2. Like, that is where you want to be. You don't want to be at the 1-1, 2-2, 2-4, but then all of a sudden you go 4-2. It's like, it's not consistent enough. You need to find a way to separate yourself from the pack. And they're currently at the 8th seed. They're hovering around the 8th seed right now. As New Orleans starts to exceed and they're starting now to create that separation. Now we're at 2.5 games behind the 7th seed. Playoffs started today. We'd be playing against New Orleans. So that's something to think about in the future. All right, boys and girls, let's go ahead and move on to our last segment. Let's talk about it. Rockets versus Bulls. That's right. Houston Rockets versus the Chicago Bulls. That's going to be played in Chicago. That's right. The Chicago Bulls. Ugh, that's the thing with this team. I'm going to pull up some of their stats right here. I mean, they're not. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean here, but They're not an overall good team. They're just not. They're 17-21. I mean, this is I mean, gosh, I want to see Lonzo Ball play, but he's been injured for so long, and you got DeMar DeRozan, obviously, Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine. Like, you got guys, and they're not. I mean, gosh, Zach LaVine's not even starting at this point. Alex Caruso, like, they got some hoopers, but this team is definitely beatable. We need the Rockets to step up and take care of business here. The Rockets are a better team than the Chicago Bulls. So let's talk about it right now. Let's talk about 3 keys to the game in terms of getting this win against the Chicago Bulls. Key number 1, which I discussed earlier, defense. Defend. Do what made y'all great, what's made y'all great for the past, the whole season. I know that you've given up 117 points a game with Dillon Brooks being out, but you need to go back to your defensive identity, which means Jason, Jabari, Jason, Jabari, I was going to say Dillon, Fred, you need Jeff Green, you need Cam Whitmore, you need Jalen, you need Amen, like, you need these guys to step up in the aggregate and fill that void, which means you need to come in with that defensive mindset and that defensive mentality. So that's key number 1. Key number 2, I need the young guys to have a good game here. And I mean this. And I don't need all of them, but I need Jabari or Jalen to have our 2 starters outside of Alperen Sengun of young players that need to step up. I need one good game out of them. And what I mean by good game is I need a good offensive game. We're just not, with all the injuries, we're just not talented enough to overcome this if one of those starters isn't scoring well. I'm telling you right now, if Jabari and Jalen score very inefficiently and they only score about 8 to 10 points, we're going to lose the game. I mean, we just don't have enough offense if that's the case. So I need one good game out of the both of them. That's key number 2. Key number 3, our bench versus their bench. I need Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Jeff Green. Aaron Holiday is going to get some run. I need our bench to come in and step up and be a jolt of energy for this Rockets team, because it's been shown time and time again when we can outscore another team's bench, we have a really, really good record. So I need them to come in, set the tone immediately once the starters come off the court, and basically set the precedent. That means that Jeff Green needs to be a leader on defense and offense. I need players like Amen Thompson to step up and Cam Whitmore step into the spotlight. You're getting legit consistent PT now with these injuries. With Cam Whitmore especially, step up. Cam Whitmore had a good game last game. I need him to continue to step up, step into the spotlight, show Ime Udoka why you're here. And if you do that, we should win this game. And oh my goodness, I'm about to predict the game again. And what prediction am I going to give? Well, I've lost 3 games out of all the games that I've been predicting so far, and by God, I'm sticking to it. I'm going 118-106. Houston Rockets win in double digits against the Chicago Bulls. I think they pull away in the second half. This team can show that they can score in bunches, and I think that as long as those 3 keys hold, we will win. We won't just win, but we'll win comfortably, and we'll start running away with that in the second half, specifically in the third quarter. Once again, let's go ahead and end this episode. Look, Alperen Sengun's a stud. Once again, make sure you vote for him to get into the All-Star game. Western Conference Player of the Week. Drop it right now. How many Western Conference Player of the Week awards can he win before the end of this season? I want to hear what each and every one of y'all has to say. But of course, I can't end this episode without shout-outs to our sponsor, Big City Wings. That's right, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. One time, fun fact, I'm recording this on a Tuesday evening, which means if you find the the closest Big City Wings nearest to you, you can get wing for wing 2 for Tuesday, which means you buy one, get one. You order 5 wings, you get 10 for the price of 5. You order 20 for the price of 10. Absolutely incredible stuff. Go get it right now. Once again, my flavors, medium and garlic parmesan, or if I'm feeling zesty, going with a little lemon pepper action. Some of the best wings I've ever had in my entire life. And believe me, I've had wings from a lot of different cities and plenty of different countries. The best wings I've ever had still exists at Big City Wings, and it's in the beautiful city of Houston. Find your local and your nearest location nearest you and go enjoy the best wings. Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint, one time. Let's go ahead and end this episode. You can follow us on our Twitter at Summit SOM Pod. You can follow our Instagram at Summit State of Mind _POD. Go follow my co-host, who is now seems to be sporadic. I guess he comes every other episode. It's pretty much where we are now. So go ahead and give him a follow at JP _Mirabueno. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Summit Commish. Follow our podcast network, our entire network, our media company at Apollo NBA, at Apollo HOU. Shoutouts to the Apollo podcast brethren that continue to kill the game. Shoutouts to BTD, Beyond the Diamond, the Crown Jewel of Astros podcast. Be sure to give them your first listen for all Astros content. Shoutouts to Off the Gridiron. That's right, Apollo Texans. One time for the boys. They are in the playoffs, and they came in hot with another great episode. Be sure to give them your first listen for all Houston Texans content. That's right, I'm so psyched that they're in the playoffs. Let's fucking go. And then, of course, we appreciate each and every one of y'all for making us your first listen for all Houston Rockets content. That's going to close the chapter and the book of episode 199. Oh my gosh, it is coming, episode 200. 200 episodes in, and y'all are all still here. Man, y'all are incredible. Like, seriously. Y'all have stuck around in the past 3.5 years that we've been doing this, and we're still going. And 200, we're going to be almost 100. Well, we're 199 in right now, and we got 199 more to go, and plus more to go. So, excited to go on this journey with y'all. Thank you so much. Keep watching the Rockets. That's the bottom line here. So, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode as I end every episode. I can't get my verbiage right. I guess I'm just kind of shocked that I'm 199 episodes in. Let's go ahead and end this episode as I end every episode with a Go Summit, Go Apollo, and you look, road trip don't mean nothing. Win some games. Show who you are, Jalen. Show who you are, Jabari. Show who you are, Alperen Sengun. Come back healthy, Dillon and Tari, and let's string a win streak together. Go Rockets. Oh, yeah. One more thing. Watch basketball. Yay!